You know that feeling, right? It's Sunday evening, maybe it's around 5 or 6 o'clock. The light outside starts to change, the shadows get a little longer, and the weekend is like officially packing its bags.
Oh, absolutely. It's this incredibly visceral, almost universal experience.
Wow.
I mean, the air in the room actually feels different.
Yeah. And suddenly, without any specific trigger, there is this heavy, sinking dread that just settles right into your chest. You start replaying all the unfinished conversations from the past week, picking apart every little awkward interaction.
Like the mental load just
Yeah,
skyrocket.
exactly. And you start anticipating all the demands waiting for you on Monday morning. We casually call it the Sunday Scaries, treating it like this quirky, relatable internet meme. But today, we're going to look at what's actually happening in your brain and your body when that clock strikes Sunday evening.
Because it's far more than just a passing mood or a lack of motivation. It is a very specific biological event.
Right, which brings us to today's deep dive. We're exploring a briefing document from Coping and Healing Counseling, or CHC. They're a Georgia-based telehealth therapy practice, but we're basically looking at their model as a case study for this massive shift in how we approach mental health.
A great example to use.
Yeah. So the mission for our time today is twofold. First, we're going to unpack the actual psychology and physiology behind that Sunday heaviness. And second, we're going to explore how modern telehealth models are completely dismantling the traditional, often exhausting barriers to getting care. Okay, let's unpack this, because digging into the mechanics of this completely flipped my perspective on what the end of the weekend actually means.
I think framing this as a case study is like the perfect place to start. This deep dive isn't just about reviewing a specific clinic.
Right.
It's fundamentally about redefining how we view our own weekly stress cycles. It's about looking at a working model that proves help has become incredibly accessible in ways that simply weren't possible even a few years ago.
Yeah, totally.
And understanding what you should be demanding from your own local healthcare ecosystem.
So let's get right into the psychology of that Sunday dread. The source material makes a really bold claim right out of the gate. It argues that this Sunday evening anxiety is not you being dramatic.
No, not at all.
It's not a character flaw or a sign of weakness. It is a physical, biological signal that your body has accumulated stress throughout the week without having the space to actually process it.
Right. It's essentially your body sounding an alarm.
But that raises a big question for me, honestly. I mean, if this is a biological alarm reacting to the stress of the week, why do we only feel it on Sunday evening?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right. Like, why isn't my body screaming at me on a Tuesday afternoon when I'm actually in the middle of a stressful meeting?
Well, what's fascinating here is the physiology behind how we delay processing. When we talk about accumulated stress, we're really talking about your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight response. Throughout the work week, you are constantly encountering microstressors. You get a passive-aggressive email. You sit in frustrating gridlock traffic. You have a tense conversation with your boss.
Oh, I know those well.
We all do.
Yeah.
And if you're the kind of person who is constantly holding things together for everyone else, you suppress your immediate natural reaction to those stressors because you simply have to get through the day.
You just push the cortisol down, slap a smile on, and keep moving.
Precisely. You compartmentalize it to survive the moment. But the body keeps the score. The stress hormones don't just vanish, they remain in your system.
Wow.
Now, think about what happens on Sunday evening. The distraction and momentum of the weekend are fading. The immediate, urgent tasks of the upcoming workday haven't fully started yet.
So it's like the first quiet moment you've had?
Exactly. For the first time all week, your brain actually has a quiet moment. Your baseline neurological activity drops. And that is exactly when the nervous system says, okay, the coast is clear. We have a massive backlog of unprocessed stress hormones, and we're about to enter the danger zone again tomorrow. Pay attention.
That is wild. It really makes me think of a smartphone.
How so?
Well, you know when your phone is getting incredibly hot in your hand and the battery is just draining rapidly, but you aren't even actively using it?
Because of the background refresh. All the data processing is happening out of sight.
Exactly. You have 30 different apps running silently in the background. You're holding it together for your friends, worrying about a project at work, navigating a conflict with a partner.
Right, all those background apps.
Yeah, and you don't realize the battery is completely draining until the phone is basically dying on Sunday night. The anxiety points directly to those unresolved concerns running in the background.
That's a perfect analogy.
So, if we reframe this dread from a character flaw to a biological help-seeking signal, that means our weekends shouldn't just be about numbing out or escaping, right? They actually need to include a mechanism for closing those background apps.
Yes, and validating that feeling is the crucial first step. I mean, if you view the Sunday scaries as a personal failure, you just feel guilty.
Yeah, which just adds more stress.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
But if you view it as an autonomic nervous system response, like
Yeah.
a check engine light,
Uh-huh.
you can actually start doing something about it.
So if the body is sounding this alarm every Sunday, what happens if we just keep hitting snooze? Because I feel like that's what most of us do. We pour a glass of wine, turn on a show, and just ignore it.
You get the snowball effects.
Yeah.
Left unaddressed, this systemic stress compounds week over week.
Yep.
And the most immediate casualty of ignoring that Sunday alarm is your Monday.
Yeah, the text actually highlights that. It says, this anxiety doesn't magically vanish at midnight. It bleeds straight into your Monday performance.
Right?
So you are walking into the new week already neurologically depleted.
And if you start Monday depleted, your threshold for handling new stressors is instantly lowered. A minor annoyance on Monday morning feels like a catastrophe.
Oh, totally. A spilled coffee ruins the whole day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which means you'll inevitably end Friday even more exhausted, creating this vicious cycle that guarantees the next Sunday will feel even heavier. You're constantly borrowing energy from tomorrow to survive today.
But the sources may offer a very specific intervention to break this cycle. They point out that this type of accumulated dread responds incredibly well to talk therapy.
As it does.
And they specifically emphasize short-term work focused on building coping skills. So what does this all mean in practice? Because honestly, I think when a lot of people hear the word therapy, they imagine this lifelong, grueling commitment,
Oh, sure. You picture lying on a vintage couch for 5 years talking about your childhood trauma.
Exactly. So if the focus here is on short-term coping skills, how does that actually work to fix my Sunday night?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, differentiating between those types of care changes the intimidation factor entirely. There is absolutely a profound place for long-term, deep-dive psychoanalysis.
Sure.
But when you're dealing with compounding weekly stress that's paralyzing you on a Sunday evening, you're dealing with an acute systemic overload. You need a tourniquet before you need exploratory surgery.
Okay, so it's about immediate stabilization.
Exactly. Short-term therapy focused on coping skills is highly solution-oriented. It equips you with immediate, physiological, and cognitive tools to regulate your nervous system.
Like what kind of tools?
For instance, a therapist might teach you a specific breathing protocol like extending your exhales to be twice as long as your inhales.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Just breathing?
It sounds simple, but this isn't just relaxing. It physically stimulates the vagus nerve. That nerve acts like a brake pedal for your sympathetic nervous system, actively lowering your heart rate and halting cortisol production.
Wow, okay. So that's a tangible tool. It's not just talking, it's practically hacking your own biology.
Exactly. Or they might work with you on cognitive diffusion. When the Sunday dread hits, your brain starts catastrophizing Monday's meetings.
Oh, I do that all the time.
A therapist teaches you how to observe those thoughts without attacking to them, breaking the loop of overthinking. Providing these immediate practical tools stops the compounding cycle of stress before it ruins Monday.
Right.
You're not signing up for a lifetime of excavation. You're signing up to learn how to operate your own pressure valve.
Okay, the necessity of getting those tools makes total sense to me now. But then we hit the classic wall, right? The actual logistics of getting to a professional.
The friction.
Yeah, the friction. We know we need the help, but often the friction of getting the care feels worse than the dread itself. Navigating across town in rush hour traffic, trying to find parking, sitting in a sterile waiting room, flipping through old magazines, it's enough to make you give up before you even start.
That's a huge barrier.
And this is where CHC's telehealth model serves as such a fascinating blueprint for the industry. They are a 100% telehealth practice using a secure, high-pay compliant video platform. Therapy quite literally happens from your own couch.
Which represents a profound shift in the clinical delivery of mental health care.
Right.
And goes far beyond just the convenience factor.
I mean, the convenience is huge, though. It eliminates childcare arrangements. You don't have to burn paid time off just to commute. You literally just open your laptop. But I am really curious about the clinical side of this.
Okay.
If I'm sitting in my own living room, does the simple act of removing the commute and the office environment actually alter the effectiveness of the therapy itself?
This raises a really important question about the nature of vulnerability and psychological safety.
Okay, how so?
Traditional in-person therapy requires you to run a gauntlet of micro-stressors just to arrive. You battle traffic, you sit alongside strangers, you walk into an unfamiliar clinical
Right,
environment.
your heart rate is already up.
By the time you sit down across from the therapist, your defensive walls are entirely up. Your nervous system is on high alert just from the journey.
That is so true. You basically spend the first 20 minutes of an hour-long session just trying to emotionally decompress.
Exactly. You have to shed the armor before the work begins. Now contrast that with telehealth. When you're on your own couch, wrapped in your own blanket, holding your own mug of tea, maybe petting your dog, your baseline level of comfort is significantly higher.
Yeah, you're in your safe space.
And your nervous system is already in a relatively regulated state. For many peoples, especially those dealing with severe anxiety, trauma, or burnout, that environmental safety allows them to open up much faster. The actual clinical work can begin the moment the video connects.
That is a fascinating way to look at it. The living room itself becomes an asset to the therapy.
It really does.
And beyond the clinical benefits, this 100% telehealth model solves a massive infrastructural problem, which is geography. The briefing highlights that CHC serves all 159 counties in Georgia.
And we have to pause and look at why that kind of scale fundamentally changes the healthcare landscape. In almost every region, there is a severe disparity between urban centers and rural areas.
Absolutely.
If you live in a major metropolitan hub, you might have hundreds of specialized therapists within a 10-mile radius. If you live in a rural county, the nearest licensed professional might be a 2-hour drive away.
Which means a single 1-hour appointment takes 4 or 5 hours out of your day. I mean, it's economically and practically impossible for most working adults.
It becomes a geographic barrier that entirely prevents care. A telehealth-first model democratizes access. It's like moving from a town with one small blockbuster video store to suddenly having Netflix.
I love that.
Geography simply drops out of the equation. Someone living in a remote, underserved county instantly has the exact same access to a highly specialized trauma therapist or an adolescent counselor as someone living in the heart of a major city.
Okay, so we've removed the commute, we've neutralized the geographic barrier, and we've eliminated the need for childcare. But anyone who has ever tried to navigate the modern healthcare system knows there are still some massive hurdles left.
Unfortunately, yes.
Usually it's finding someone who actually understands your specific needs, the agonizing wait times, and of course, the cost. Looking at how CHC addresses these exact friction points really exposes how broken the traditional system can be.
Yeah, these are typically the final 3 barriers that cause people to abandon their search for help altogether. Quality of match, speed of access, and affordability.
So let's start with the match. The document notes they have a team of over 15 licensed therapists, and it lists this, like alphabet soup of credentials, LCSWs, LPCs, LMFTs.
Right, lots of letters.
And it also specifically highlights that they are a diverse and culturally competent team, covering everything from teen therapy for kids 13 and up to couples counseling, PTSD, and grief. As a patient, seeing all those acronyms can be overwhelming.
It definitely can.
So why does having a deep bench of clinicians with all those different letters after their names actually matter?
It's a fair point. The clinical terminology isn't always patient-friendly. But those acronyms represent entirely different frameworks for how a therapist approaches a problem.
Okay, break that down for me.
So an LCSW is a licensed clinical social worker. They are heavily trained to look at a patient within their environment, understanding how systemic issues, community, and family structures impact mental health.
Got it.
An LMFT is a licensed marriage and family therapist. Their expertise is in relational dynamics, how behavior in one person affects the whole family unit.
Oh, okay.
And an LPC, a licensed professional counselor, typically focuses deeply on individual cognitive and emotional patterns, treating specific mental health conditions.
So they aren't just interchangeable therapists, they're entirely different tools for different jobs.
Precisely. By compiling a diverse team with varied credentials, a practice ensures that therapy is not a one-size-fits-all product. If you're looking for help for a teenager acting out after a trauma, you need a very different framework than a married couple trying to navigate a communication breakdown.
That makes total sense.
And the cultural competence aspect is just as critical as the clinical framework.
Because you need to feel understood without having to explain your entire existence, right?
Exactly. Patients need to feel understood by their provider, not just clinically, but culturally. Having a diverse team allows a practice to quickly and accurately match a patient with a specialist who genuinely grasps their lived experience.
Whether that's based on race, background, or community dynamic.
Right. You aren't just getting the next available person on a roster. You're getting the right person for your specific need.
Okay, so you find the right person. Now, how long does it take to actually get on their schedule? Because I know people who finally worked up the courage to ask for help, only to be told they are on a waiting list for 6 months.
Which is absolutely devastating when you're in a state of acute distress.
Yeah. But here's where it gets really interesting. The psychology behind wait times. The briefing states that with CHC, first sessions are typically available within 3 to 5 business days. And the intake and scheduling happen in a single phone call.
That is incredibly fast.
You literally call on Monday, you're talking to a specialist by Thursday.
And that speed is vital because it capitalizes on the moment of readiness. When someone is feeling that overwhelming Sunday dread and finally hits their breaking point and decides they need help, that motivation is a highly perishable resource.
Oh, it fades so fast.
It really does. If the system tells them they have to wait 3 months, the motivation evaporates. The stress normalizes, the crisis gets pushed back down, and the destructive cycle just continues.
You just go back to hitting snooze.
Right. A 3 to 5 day turnaround catches the patient while they're still actively ready to do the hard work. It strikes while the iron is hot.
And then there's the ultimate barrier, the one that stops most people in their tracks, which is cost. The text lays out the insurance situation very clearly here.
It's a huge factor.
For Medicaid patients, it is a $0 copay. For major insurances, and they list Aetna, Cigna, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, United Healthcare, and Humana, the cost runs just $10 to $40 per session.
And this is where we have to look at the broader economics of telehealth. How is a clinic able to offer a $0 Medicaid option or a $10 copay while still employing highly specialized experts?
Right.
It's directly tied to the telehealth model itself.
Because they aren't paying for massive commercial real estate and huge administrative waiting rooms.
Exactly. Telehealth structurally reduces overhead costs. When a practice doesn't have to maintain expensive physical infrastructure across multiple cities, they can pass those operational savings directly into broader insurance acceptance and lower patient costs.
That is brilliant.
When you combine that $10 or $20 copay with the complete elimination of travel costs and missed hourly wages, you're looking at an economic model designed specifically for genuine accessibility.
It's a game changer.
Mental health care has historically been treated as a luxury good for the wealthy. This structural efficiency treats it as a fundamental necessity for everyone.
It really does. It takes every single excuse you might have, like it's too far, it's too expensive, the wait list is too long, I can't find a sitter, and it just systematically dismantles them.
One by one.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to bring it all back together for you listening. We started with that heavy, sinking feeling you get when the weekend is ending. The absolute biggest takeaway from our exploration today is that this Sunday heaviness is a treatable signal.
It's your biological check engine light coming on.
Yes, it is not a like sentence, it's not a character flaw, and you do not have to just grit your teeth and carry it alone week after week.
It is entirely possible to step out of that cycle once you have the right tools.
And the model we looked at today outlines exactly how to access those tools. Coping and healing counseling provides a totally frictionless escape route. They offer a HIPAA-compliant 100% telehealth model that brings the care straight to your living room.
It's incredible access.
They have incredibly fast 3 to 5 day intake times to catch you in that moment of readiness. And they offer highly accessible insurance options, including $0 Medicaid, copays democratizing access across all 159 counties in Georgia.
The entire infrastructure is built around meeting the patient exactly where they are, both geographically and financially.
For those who are ready to make a change, or for referring providers who are trying place patients this week, the logistics really are that simple. You can call 404-832-0102 on Monday morning, where your verification and scheduling happen in one single call.
Nice and easy.
Or you can visit cheektherapy.com to start the process online. The tools to fix your Monday are right there, waiting for you.
As we close, I want to offer one final perspective on what we've unpacked today. Spent a lot of time analyzing the Sunday scaries as a biological alarm bell for unprocessed stress.
Right.
But if that specific Sunday night dread is just a check engine light revealing how we operate, it forces you to look at the rest of your week differently. What other recurring weekly moods, like that sudden, unavoidable Wednesday afternoon brain fog or that profound, bone-deep Friday exhaustion, are actually hidden biological signals quietly begging for your attention?